Aloha! Welcome to Captain Chris 808. I'm Chris Solomon and I'm exploring the historical, political, and cultural relevance in fandom, gaming, and nerd culture. Today, we're going to explore an episode of The Twilight Zone. Let's jam. The Twilight Zone is one of my favorite old TV shows. It's an anthology-based mystery and thriller series that goes through various dark themes in science fiction. The creator, Rod Serling, is one of my favorite television writers of all time. If you've ever watched Black Mirror or Love, Death, and Robots on Netflix, think of The Twilight Zone as its grandpa and predecessor. The episode I want to talk about today is called The Monsters Are Due on Maple Street. This episode aired in 1960, a few years after the second Red Scare in the 1950s. The Red Scare was a period in America when growing anti-communist sentiment during the Cold War led to American citizens being arrested, interrogated, and blacklisted on the basis of their political beliefs and activities. American politicians like Senator Joe McCarthy from Wisconsin led witch hunts against suspected communists because he believed that they infiltrated the United States government en masse. Long before the polarized politics of today, America was already very familiar with citizens reporting on their fellow citizens and being willing to demonize the other. People who were suspected of being communists were blacklisted from work and also subpoenaed to the Congressional House Un-American Activities Committee in Congress. In this episode, you see how American fear of communism is reflected in the good citizens of Maple Street. These are good people who are driven by fear of other people, assuming the worst about each other, and having no awareness about any problems at large. So let's get into the episode. Maple Street, USA is just like every other Leave It to Beaver town in 1960s America. Just a sunny afternoon and all the children are out playing. Neighbors are enjoying their day and working on their lawns, but suddenly there's a giant meteor that passes through. All of the town folks notice it, but just resume with their regular activities. Suddenly, the residents of Maple Street realize that all of the power is off, affecting cars, appliances, even portable radio devices. All of their neighbors come out to discuss the situation. One resident, Pete Van Horn, wants to go check Floral Street, one street down, to see if they were affected. His neighbors, Steve Brand and Charlie Farnsworth, decide to go into town to investigate further, but Tommy, a neighborhood boy, urges them not to go because of an alien invasion he read about in a comic book. And in the comic book, the problems were initiated by power loss issues, and the invaders dressed up like a regular family to hide their true nature. While all of this is going on, Les Goodman attempts to start his car and fails. Suddenly, as he walks past it, it turns on. This leads all of his neighbors to grow suspicious of him. They gather in front of his lawn, and this one lady begins ostracizing Les by questioning the way he gets up late at night and watches the stars. Slowly, the whole neighborhood becomes suspicious of each other, suspicious of each other's idiosyncratic behaviors, and one guy gets suspected of being an alien because he has a ham radio. Then the whole group gets approached by a mysterious shadowy figure. Charlie gets terrified and shoots at it, and it ends up being Pete, the guy that went to Floral Street. In the process of utter shock, the lights in Charlie's house suddenly turn on as well. This made Les Goodman rebuke him for being so quick to kill and accuse, but also then fanned the flames and said maybe Pete found out about Charlie's extraterrestrial origins, and that's why Charlie killed him. This leads the whole neighborhood to chase Charlie and throw stones all the way to his house until he decides it's time for little Tommy to get thrown under the bus now, because after all, this whole scenario started because of his story. Charlie then passes the suspicion on to Tommy, and then a whole riot starts happening. The lights, car engines, and appliances began to surge on and off as people hysterically smash windows, accuse each other, and arm themselves with weapons. Meanwhile, on a hilltop, we see that all of this chaos on Maple Street was caused by two devious aliens talking about how easy it is to disrupt and conquer goods just by fiddling with their routine. And it turns out they had a device that could disrupt the power. Rod Serling then closes with, "The tools of conquest do not necessarily come with bombs and explosions and fallout. There are weapons that are simply thoughts, attitudes, prejudices, to be found only in the minds of men. For the record, prejudices can kill and suspicion can destroy, and a thoughtless, frightened search for a scapegoat has a fallout all of its own, for the children and the children yet unborn. And the pity of it is that these things cannot be confined to the Twilight Zone." This episode pointed out that we are all susceptible to finding the enemy in one another if we don't strive to understand the full picture of things. Like in the Red Scare, Americans were all too familiar with the process of reporting on people who they thought were engaged in communist activity because of the moral panic and ignorance of the time. We had a Cold War going on. Fear was in charge in America. We humans have a particular problem of letting that go poorly throughout history. We're dealing with it even now, with today, as immigrants and trans folks are scapegoated for the issues of America right now. People love it when we fight each other, especially the ones that are really behind the scenes, because it distracts us from the two aliens on the hill who are screwing with our power. We'd be better off being quick to listen, connect, and understand each other, rather than being controlled by our prejudices and our suspicions. Thanks for watching, guys. Please remember to like and subscribe.